Meeting to order at 7 p.m.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Up first, we have public comments, but we did not have anyone submit for public comment tonight. So up next, after that, we have presentations. First up is Exemplary Nights. That's why everyone's here. For our Exemplary Night staff members, these staff members have been recognized by their peers for their exemplary work. As a Board of Education, we want to thank them for their efforts and the positive impact they have on Blue Ridge. Please come forward when I call your name. From Schneider Elementary, we have Aaron Stahl. From Blue Ridge Intermediate Junior High, we have Nissa Kramer. She's not here, but we're still going to clap for her. And from Blue Ridge High School, we have Jessie Funderburk. Everyone moves. No one wants in the photo. And then tonight, we also recognize the exemplary actions that brought these students to the attention of their teachers and principal. As a Board of Education, we appreciate the efforts and excellence of these students, and we want to say thank you for a job well done. When I call your name, please come forward and to accept your certificate and stay up front for a photo, okay? All right, let's start at Blue Ridge High School. We have Romero Fernandez. From Blue Ridge High School, we also have Isaac Price. From 8th grade, we have Ezekiel Koziki. Probably said it wrong. From 7th grade, we have Jonah Hahn. From 6th grade, we have Alexia Keeler. From 5th grade, we have Wade Dragoo. From 4th grade, we have Annabeth Zander. From 3rd grade, we have Corbin Swigert. They're so cute. 2nd grade, we have Jackson Brown Collar. Oh, that's okay, buddy. From 1st grade, we have Evie Skinner. And from kindergarten, we have Sydney Jo Ozzie. Okay. So Mr. Payton will get a quick photo, and then everyone will be allowed to come up and get a photo. next we have, under presentations, we have technology update.
How you guys doing? That's a tough act to follow. I'm sorry, but I have a pretty informal update for you guys tonight. Can you hear me okay? Yes. Okay. So February has historically been our time to come to a board meeting and talk to you. Tonight they can't be here, but I'm going to just give you a few updates. When I asked Dr. Sanford, I said our processes have kind of changed since last year, and so what would you like me to talk about? And she said, well, why don't we talk about how our processes have changed? And I'm like, that makes sense. So tonight we will see our acceptable use policy and Chromebook agreement have been updated, and there's a consent agenda for you guys. And
We can hear her fine.
there's all those people that are watching.
Yeah, it's my brother, that's it, it's fine. Literally every time. If he can't hear you, he'll text me and tell me. Oh, yeah. It's not awesome. Oh, yeah. I'm watching, like, there'll be a text any moment.
Okay, so what we found last year was what we were doing is we were coming together as a technology committee, and we were meeting with administrators and teachers, and we were having a lengthy meeting in which we revisited a plan that was pretty antiquated, and it was kind of like our processes over time and how things have changed, and then what do we see upcoming. And so since we felt like we were involved in a lot of different things, it made sense to us to sort of change our processes from that one big meeting to branch out into different areas. So Paige, being the amazing scheduler that she is, planned out our year for us, and this is what that looked like. So we had one committee that was our Technology and Health Life Safety Committee, and we met quarterly. That involved several departments, including administrators, our department, O&M, and Dr. Sanford. We had another spin-off subcommittee called Technology and Security that met once a semester. That involved administrators, our department, O&M, and the superintendent. We had a group that was technology, curriculum, intervention, state mandates. We decided that was probably our most frequently needed meeting. At first we didn't think so, but after kind of diving into it at the start of the year, we realized that we were going to have to be meeting more frequently. So that was administrators, our department, and Paige. We have a subcategory called technology and classroom integration. We actually met today. That's a once a semester committee, so that involves teachers throughout district. The technology and curricular subcategory, and that would include our ADs and us. And then finally, we have a group that is technology and state reporting, which are meeting once a semester, and I anticipate that will increase next year with the replacement of Nancy Hoffman. So what we found from that, and today I checked in with the people, we had another meeting today too with the curriculum and intervention folks. We have increased communication, so that really has helped us. We seem to have a better idea of what's coming and planning is better. It also holds us accountable because we know we are meeting. Okay, that's fine. Wow, that seems so loud. We are meeting more frequently, and we are able to work as a team to brainstorm anything that needs to be done. I feel like it's given us better results. It feels like more of a team effort, and moving forward, I think this process will continue. I wouldn't be surprised if there's other spin-offs or subcategories that form throughout the years. And after today, I imagine that Paige will probably start filling our inbox with invitations for next year, because that's what we oftentimes see. So overall, I think the process has been a worthwhile change for us. Other updates, what's coming for us in
future year, big things at least. One of the things that we will have to do is phase out our Windows 10 machines. That will be a big process over the summer for us. In addition to that, we are talking about artificial intelligence and how that's going to impact teachers and students in the district. In April, we are going to have our first kind of dive into that with teachers in the district and show them some ways that they can utilize AI to make teaching maybe slightly easier in certain ways. And then we'll move into how we want to address that with students as well in the fall. Do you guys have any questions for me?
I'll just add that I think the idea of the spin-off meetings is absolutely on point. I kind of related that when I was talking to Francie about this. When we had the steering committee meeting previously, once a year, you bring a lot of documents to a large group of people. You bring a plan for PD for the next 18 months to the group. And sometimes you present something that's so big and the room falls quiet, and you really want more feedback. And so I think by taking the time to have all these separated meetings with the right people at the table, it's a lot more time for you, but I think maybe in the long run you get a much more beneficial read on what progress you've made and where you need to go next. So I think that's a wonderful plan.
Yeah, absolutely. Take it from here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And up next, we have a school counseling update.
Okay, hello. I feel like one of those TikTokers with like the little
Yeah.
microphone, like, okay, next, what we're gonna do. All right. Sorry, I'm a little distracted. Okay, so hello, and thank you for taking the time to read over the documents that I shared with you guys in the board packet. Brevity is not always my strength, and sometimes I do get a little wordy, but I just wanted to take this opportunity, which is kind of on the tail end of, or a couple weeks after National School Counseling Month, or week, it could be every month, right? But National School Counseling Week, which, some people are like, I got a couple messages, oh, happy, counseling week, and you're appreciated, and that's wonderful. But really the purpose of that week is for us to advocate for our career and to try to share with people more about like what it is that school counselors do, because it is really vast and we really do a lot of different things. If anyone would ever like to shadow me for a day, that's great. But we are just, all over the place and doing a lot of different things. I love this work. I love this job. I love this district. And but I did want to kind of draw attention to the fact that we do have a lot, especially at the high school level, do have a lot of administrative tasks that aren't necessarily directly related to counseling. And, that isn't an uncommon thing. It is in lots and lots of districts. But if there is any way at all that we can, try to move forward with, taking some of those administrative tasks away from the school counselors, that would mean that your counselors that have specific training in counseling can be more student-facing. And I just think that that's really important. And, there's a lot of things that I would really like to focus on more. But, like I mentioned in my note, there are days when I feel like I'm really glued to my desk and, I can't get out there and be, with my students. There's a lot of maintaining student records, like in all ways related to like grading and transcripts. Andrea and I talk a lot about calculations inside of Skyward and is this doing this right and how do we make this better or more streamlined, and I just kind of think back to I went to the Skyward conference this year in the fall and I loved it and it was great, but like, would I have rather gone to like a counseling conference? Yeah, probably. Could my skills be used in a more direct way with counseling skills? And, we are never going to have fewer regulations or fewer things that's expected of us and all of that. And, we just need to make sure that we are always keeping our students in the center and placing our counselors in a place where they can be meeting them, more regularly. I do believe that our middle school and elementary counseling positions are better set up for that, and they don't have like scheduling and testing assigned to them, but at the high school that hasn't really ever gone away. So anyhow, just kind of highlighting things. When I made the transition, like over 10 years ago, from being in the classroom to being in my counseling office, I think the thing that I miss the most is seeing 120 faces every day and like talking to them and directly, interacting with them. I don't really have a whole lot else, but when I do think, to like what would I really like to focus on, I think that our students are always going to have rising needs. I think that, as with a lot of things, our own children teach us so much, and something that I see in my own child is like executive functioning, and like how can we help that? And I think that was one of the things that COVID just absolutely wrecked. And would it be awesome if I could dig into that more and learn more about that and learn about skill teaching and being more focused on that. So anyhow, I do thank you for your time, and thank you for reading my my very long letter. So thank you.
Does anyone have any questions? Okay. Up next, we have communication.
Okay, here's our monthly FOIA request list. We received a request from D. Casper asking about information on a former employee. There was no information that he requested that was found, so we replied so. Illinois Retired Teachers Association, they do an annual request of who are the certified staff members who are retiring so they can make contact with them. So that was fulfilled as well.
Then we have the advisory board update, the IASB advisory board update. Chelsea is not here tonight to give that, so it is in your board packet. And then my talking points are in here, but you probably noticed that the IASB talking points, which was the next item, was not really a lot of information. So hopefully next month they're going to give us a really great update. They had that the spring division meetings would be beginning the end of February, run through April 11th. And I think that we have that on our topic tonight. They talked about the targeted training for administrative professionals, and then the Press Plus subscribers, the deadline to enter the board's response to that out there. So not a lot this month, so I guess that's a plus. Did anyone have any questions on any of that? I didn't think so. Okay, up next we have committee reports.
And there are none.
Easy. Then administrative reports. Hillary?
Okay, so one of the things that I had talked about on the WHOW show, which actually made it to the IASA news release sometime last week, was some of the things that we're doing to modernize the district. One of the things that we've talked about is our safety app, our crisis app, moving to Crisis Go from Navigate Prepared. And so Andrea and Dave and I continue to work in that direction. Spent a good amount of time on Friday reading through the entire I Love You Guys webpage, looking at the language that will be used with the Crisis Go app. A lot of learning there. And then Ryan and I are going to attend a 2 or 4 hour workshop, I think, in the beginning of March to learn more about their specific procedures for I Love You Guys. So we continue to try to step forward with that. And then Christy and I have been working on something, again, Dave and Andrea, technology goes into everything, doesn't it? So we talked about a need to do our onboarding, our application and our onboarding without paper. So right now, literally, our hiring packet for certified teachers is a centimeter thick of paper that people have to fill out. We always kind of joke with people when they come in, it's harder to get in than it is to actually do your job once you get inside. It's ridiculous. So Christy and I have done a couple follow-up conversations with a company called Thank you, Boilerplate. And so Boilerplate is a very reasonably priced app or platform that we're going to be able to take all of our packet into, have everything labeled, and then Christy can pull out, I need these things for a full-time teacher applicant, I need these things for a coach, I need these things for a so-and-so. We expected that it was going to take probably a good 4 or 5 months to get everything done, but we've made some significant progress already. So even some that she'll be surprised to see in her inbox when she goes in the morning. So we're going in that direction. And then, if I didn't mention last month, we have Alex Hamilton from the Farmer City Police Department, who is a new hire, and he is going to start in the role of SRO on March 1st in our buildings, and then he'll go to his SRO training in the month of May. So we're excited about that.
Okay. Up next, Mr. Payton.
Good evening. I just have a couple of quick announcements tonight. A couple of them are actually upcoming events that we have. I just want to get out there since we're online, and hopefully more people will see. But we do have March 5th, our kindergarten registration is coming up, and so that is a great opportunity for all of our incoming kindergarten parents to come in, hear about the kindergarten program, hear about the building, get to meet the 3 teachers. They learn information from the medical side from Ms. Case, and then also Ms. Mary helps with a variety of enrollment paper questions, and then they actually, it's kind of like a sit and get where they're listening to a variety of information and filling out and completing paperwork to hopefully ease that transition into the building for next school year. So that comes up March 5th. We also have a big pre-K screening, which we're almost full for, which is very exciting, April 11th and 12th. We only have a few more spots on both afternoons. We actually have around 39 to 40 kids right now in pre-K that are going to be transitioning into kindergarten, so we're going to have a lot of openings for next school year. So we will have the screening now, and then we will hold another screening late July. So for those kids that are 3 and 4, make sure that you get on that screening list so that we can get you enrolled for next school year. Last thing that I have is more so something that we did recently. We were able to do our Bug Awards in the month of January. We had a little bit of a setback because I think we had a snow day or something that occurred during that time, so we had to do some rescheduling, but we still had an awesome parent turnout. We had a great room of individuals that were there. First through third grade, we have over 87 students that met the criteria for Bug Awards, or also called Bring Up Grades. So those are individuals that have exceeded basically first and second quarter. First and second quarter, yeah, or have brought their grades up to a place where we want to see. So we have a lot of good academic accomplishments for that first semester. Couple of things too, Kiwanis helps with that process, so they're there and they provide some of the certificates as well as pencils. Sorry, I can't speak very well tonight. And then also our Key Club actually had some members that came over, 2 of which presented in front of all of the people that were there in attendance, which was really great. Ty Meeker is the president there and was able to kind of lead that. And then Miss Ivy Whitehouse was able to share student names, so it's great for them to come over and participate in that process. So that's all that I have. Any questions for me?
It's more fun to pick it up, I think.
She'll look funny too.
Yeah, feels more official.
All right. Good evening, folks. Just a couple of quick things to share from the intermediate junior high school. We have our IR and ISA testing, which is our state testing, coming up here shortly. We've been working together with Mrs. Colross and Mrs. Weedman to come up with kind of a new schedule. We got kind of a interesting timeline between when the window opens, our spring break, and when the window closes, a little bit shorter window, so we had to be a little creative, but we're getting our students ready for that to show how much they've grown through a year of instruction since we've taken it last. Before that ceremony, though, or before that, we're going to have a couple assemblies. We're going to call these academic recognition assemblies. We're going to have a 4th through 6th grade in the afternoon and a 7th and 8th grade in the morning this coming Friday. We're going to look at our first semester Mostly, we're going to look at our students that are on pace to make their iReady goals after taking 2 diagnostic assessments. We're going to look at our first semester honor roll grades, both at the junior high and the intermediate level. We're going to call those our high academic achievement because they don't really earn the same type of GPAs as they do in the junior high. We're going to celebrate the IAR meets and exceeds for the students that they did last year. And part of that discussion is I'm going to spend a little bit of time showing the students as a student body how much they've grown over the year to get them kind of excited and ready to show what they know during the upcoming IAR testing. And then we're going to have a little bit of a celebration for some of the FitnessGram things that they're doing in PE. Just more wanting to create and grow that culture of academic excellence and recognition in our buildings. Any questions?
Looks like a clip-on mic, so I'm going to try clipping it on and see if that works. So since we last met, I was realizing it's been kind of a crazy month. I don't know how many snow days we had or how many e-learning days we had, but we were also 4 total. And then we also were invaded by the plague with a ridiculous amount of kids in all buildings and staff members and their kids being out. I mean, it's been chaos. But the one thing as I stop back and reflect on that is, like, our staff here at the high school for sure has been just incredible at providing stability for all of our students and try to help them navigate those waters, because it's crazy for all of us. And so they've been, picking each other up when somebody's out and, lending a hand wherever possible. So it's been really great to see. Some other a highlight that's going on right now. We were in the midst of FFA week, which is kind of a crazy week at the high school. Yesterday we had an assembly towards the end of the day with, we had one of the state officers was here to speak a little bit, and then we did some fun games and activities. Tomorrow we're trying something different. They've always had on Thursday, they've had the college and career fair in the gym, and they'll set up, a bunch of tables all around, and they've got, different colleges and trade schools and careers and different people there, and kids can come in and go around and talk to these people like they're at a job fair type of thing. Tomorrow we are doing something totally new. We're doing that, but then we're also interjecting in the middle of the morning a couple of breakout sessions. And Leslie Hieronymus actually had all kids sign up for, there were about 14 different things that they could pick from, and they all put in a first choice and a second choice, and we've created a couple different sessions that they can attend. So we're going to do that in the middle of the day, and there'll be 20 to 25 kids in a session, and it'll be like a panel in front of them, and they can ask questions, and it's just be a good Q&A opportunity for that. So exposure to things like I said, Army, Navy, colleges, technical schools. There's some professions there like there's a cosmetology school. There's some other things that are escaping me right. Real estate, there's somebody here from a real estate company and from a financial company as well. So lots of different things for kids to investigate tomorrow, so we're kind of excited about that. Let's see, what else? And another thing that's not really, we're not necessarily involved in it, but we're kind of happy to be doing it. Next week on Monday, the girls basketball super sectional is actually going to be hosted here. And so we were asked to host that as kind of a central location for some teams that might be involved. So that's going to be kind of a big showcase for our facilities and all that. So that's kind of a really cool thing going on next Monday night. So questions?
All three of these guys have been sick, so I don't really want to touch anything that they've been touching. No offense. So I just have a few things I want to highlight. Our literacy committee, I told you a little bit about that in December. They've been putting in a lot of extra time. We have, representatives from all areas of the different classrooms. We've had some guest speakers come in. We had the assistant superintendent from the ROE, Molly Allen, come in, and she talked to us kind of about these reading wars that are going on. If you Google it, you'll get lots of great information. And then this last week, we had Dr. Lynn come in, who's a literacy consultant, and he talked to us about the science of reading. And I think I can say pretty confidently, out of the last 4 years planning PD, I've had the best feedback about his presentation, just how meaningful and informative it was. And so he's going to come back and talk to us again in June, where we can hopefully have all of our staff be there who are teaching ELA K through maybe even 12, to give them the opportunity, because they felt like his knowledge was that valuable, and that he's going to continue to go deeper with phonics and comprehension, and just giving us more strategies that we can use in our classroom. So that was really exciting. At least I think it's exciting. And I think the team did too. They enjoyed it. Since we have people tuning in, the 5 Essentials survey is up. This is an opportunity for teachers and students and parents to give feedback about our school district. And we have until March 29th. There's been a link posted. There's been messages going out for the parents to participate. If they don't have that, they can reach out to me and I will get the link for them. The majority of our students have taken the survey at this point. I just checked in on that today, and our teachers as well have until the end of March to take it. So I'm working on compiling those and keeping track with who has finished and who hasn't. And then I wanted to give you an update on dual credit. So I had my monthly meeting with the second semester teachers. They have all the materials they need. The kids are excited. Right now we have English 102 going, and our appreciation FYE and English 101 was in the fall, and I'm going to be at Parkland, I think it's the second week of March, to kind of explore some more options to see if maybe we can bring even some more courses to our school for our students. I think it's a great opportunity. I know that we were sad to hear that Mr. Monsu was going to be leaving us next year, but I participated with Mr. Easter in the social studies interviews, and we have a great candidate that I think he's going to present to you tonight that has those qualifications that they'll be able to move into teaching that FYE dual credit role. So that's really exciting as well. And then the last thing that I just wanted to highlight, I know that you received a memo and I linked it in my board document, but the Innovative School Summit, I think if we would be approved to go, I think it would be a great opportunity, not only for our teachers who go to it, but our plan is for those teachers to come back and present all of that information back to our staff. Mr. Payton and I were talking earlier today. We think that, you know, it would be great for them to have an opportunity to kind of build that camaraderie between themselves, building trust. And I think it sends a message to them that Blue Ridge invests in their educators. We want to give them opportunities and skills to grow as professionals, and then come back and then, you know, be the leaders of the school who are going to present that information to everyone else. It's also a great opportunity for them to see current trends around the country and really hear some nationally renowned speakers talk. So I think that's all that I have right now. Do you have any specific questions for me?
I do.
Okay.
Paige, was there an incentive that the superintendent put out for any building that could reach the 20% parent participation on the 5 Essentials survey?
There was some sort of baked goods promised. There was.
I thought it was dinner.
Oh.
Yeah.
You upped it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Baked chicken.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so parents, please fill out the survey.
Yes.
Okay, and then we have the reports The rest of the reports are in the board packet. Up next is approval of consent items. And unless there are any questions on any, I need a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda items listed on attachment A as presented. Sid and Jonathan.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, up next we have old business. First up is consideration of administrative structure at Blue Ridge High School.
Okay, so in December, we started our conversation about what would the admin team look like at the high school moving forward. And my proposition was that we would consider a full-time assistant principal position beginning in the 24-25 school year. In January, that discussion continued, and there were some conversations that happened amongst board members. We decided at that point it would be good to take another month to be thoughtful about that, and then we would bring that question back up in February. So here we are, it's February already. I do believe it was Jason that said, why don't you go ahead and prepare the way, just in case we're ready to say yes. And so, not in your packet, but in your paper file that you received tonight, you'll see a job description. I realize it says interim assistant principal, but the bulk of the content there is what would be used for an assistant principal job description. It would take off the scheduling of 2 days a week. Obviously, it would be a 5-day-a-week position. And then Christy also put together, the next page would be prettier than it looks like on paper because it would be in color. That's what she uses, Canva, to put together a nice application or a announcement about the job, and that would go out to all the different places that we have, hopefully bringing in some candidates. So, and then a draft of the posting is on the back side of that Canva, so you can take a look at what goes out to the district if we were given the permission to proceed with that. So we're open to questions if you have any. Or any other comments and thoughts?
Well, I know Chelsea had hoped to follow Mr. Easter around for a day, and it just didn't end up working out. I'd really kind of like to. I was hoping she'd have something to report back, and since we haven't had the opportunity, I don't really want to vote on it yet. But I would put myself out there for. I pick a day or two or something, hang out with you. I don't doubt you're busy. I'm so far removed from it. Just want to experience what you go through.
I will say that Mr. Easter and I spoke about what would that potentially look like after last month's board meeting, and there would be so many parts of his day that a board member could not be a part of, just because of confidentiality things. It would be very difficult to, I mean, you could be watching, but many times you would have to be sitting across the hallway in a room waiting for him to be done with a conversation with a kid or with a teacher. So I think the idea sounds great. I think it's a little bit different to actually put that into practice. But those are just my thoughts. I know that Mr. Easter's more than happy to have somebody come, but I think you miss out on a lot of what's really going on because we can't include you in everything, unfortunately. So.
Still game for hanging out. Even if I have to sit in the hallway, it wouldn't be my first time. I spent a lot of time in the hallway.
Yeah, we'll let you contact Brian if you want to do that.
Is this going to be a 200-day position? Is that
Yes.
what you had it billed for?
Yes.
Any other comments? Anyone? Very quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I'm going to call the motion, so we'll see how this goes. I'm going to, a motion and a second to approve the addition of an assistant principal position at Blue Ridge High School beginning in the 2024-2025 school year as presented. So moved. Kenna and Derek.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Up next is years of experience study update.
Okay, so This was a conversation that we started many, many months ago, perhaps over the summertime of '23, and what our CBA, what our current collective bargaining agreement says is that teachers that are coming into the district will receive no more than 7 years of credit for their years of experience on the salary schedule unless the board gives additional permission. We happen to have a year with quite a few experienced teachers that wanted to join our district. That's an amazing thing to have happen nowadays. That's a very desirable thing to have happen. Each of those teachers that came in with considerable years of experience are doing amazing things in our district right now, and our kids are benefiting because of that. Now, when one of the comments on it from a board member was, yeah, we don't mind you giving them more years of experience, but we should kind of have some kind of a formula to do that. And so then I started looking out to other districts and asking, what do you use? And overwhelmingly heard, we don't have any cap on years of experience. So we give them what they have worked when they come in. And to me, that's what makes sense. That's where you're going to be able to bring in the candidates. And let's face it, it is a teacher's market out there right now. And so when we have that thing hanging over our heads and standing in our way, we would continue to miss out on, or we would potentially miss out on some candidates with that language in the contract. So what I did was I asked the board, what would you think about me doing a study to find out exactly who are those people who have not been given their full years of experience when they came in, either recently or some time ago. And so in your packet, you'll see the information that's there. We have a small handful, looks like 6. I would say that we've had one teacher just this week that gave me their paperwork, and I didn't have time to get that to you, but there is one more. You'll notice one was a considerable jump. They have taken a big hit to be in this district. So there is no reason for you to be doing any kind of a motion or approval of anything tonight. I just wanted to give you my preliminary information. My next step, if you tell me to proceed, would be to talk to the district attorney about the number of years of experience that these teachers all have currently, because the TRS penalty that would happen if let's use somebody as an example, if we made this increase next year, it's going to be over a 6% increase. If that was one of their highest 4 years of salary within their last 10 years of teaching, then the district could have a financial penalty from TRS. I don't have any reason to believe that anybody on this list is 4 years from retirement, but that doesn't mean that there's always the potential that they could leave the profession, and then it could be one of their highest 4 years in the last 10 that they were working. So there's always going to be a little bit of risk that we have there, but I don't think the risk is significant, knowing how many years left these teachers have to go in their typical length of career. So I'm going to be, unless you tell me not to, I'm going to talk with Jeff Funk. He wanted me to gather the information first before we went further, and then if he tells us that the risk is low to moderate and not very high, then I would next bring it back to the board to say, what do you think about us making this jump? The number that you see in bold would be the one-time jump, but of course we have to, continue from that level as we go on. Some of the teachers, 2 of the teachers, the first and last, would actually have moved not just off of the salary schedule, but another year or 2 after that. And so my answer was to put them in that bottom of that row that they're in, and then they would fall off. They would go to longevity the following year. So it's not perfect, but you can see that they're both, everybody on there would have a considerable difference for the next school year.
Even with the veteran teachers, they're still hired under the same way that a rookie teacher would be hired, correct? They still have to go through the same evaluations that a first-year teacher would when they're coming across, regardless of their years of experience.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So somebody who's coming in with 10, 15 years of experience, they start as a non-tenured in this district, and so they have the heavy evaluation cycle for the first either 2 or 3 years, because tenure has now by law changed to excellence, brings you right up to tenure, or at least 2 proficients or better in the last 2 of the first 3 years will bring you into tenure. Any thoughts that you want me to look into or not look into before next month?
Affordability. I know that's a sizable jump. Is it a problem?
I don't have a budget done for next year, but with what I know from the EAV increase,
Fine.
we're okay. Yeah. So when you look at this, we're with the addition of the next person, and I don't know how many years they're shorted, but I mean we're looking at kind of a full teacher here without having another body. But yes, my estimate without running a lot of numbers is that yes, it would not cause a problem. It would be fine.
Great.
Is there any kind of phase-in period where by the time they reached their third year, they would be all the way up to that we wouldn't have to worry about that 6% issue, where they weren't jumping up more than 6% in 1 year? Or we bringing them in at their years of experience solves that because we're not jumping them?
We would have the one jump that would cause a problem, but if they stayed here or they stayed in education and somebody else gave them their years of experience, we would not have the risk of being one of the highest. So that's what Jeff and I will be looking at. If we know that they're at least 5 more years before they retire, which it's that or more, and especially if they're being shown that value of having the jump, I really don't see them walking away after this has been made right.
Do you think there's any possibility that a future CBA would not include this wording?
Yes.
I mean, I don't understand the advantage of it. I've never understood
I think it's a very old-fashioned set of language that really is because, I mean, it used to be, I remember in a former district, when you had a vacancy, you would go over to the district office and literally pull out a whole file cabinet of everybody all the resumes and applications for one job. And you'd have to narrow it down from, to the top 20 that looked good for you as you were going through the cabinet. It's not the way it is right now. So people were willing to, only come in with a certain number of years of experience because they were wanting to get a job. And it just is ridiculous to me that in our country we can't go from state to state without having a significant penalty like that. Doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
Well, and in no other career would someone go in and be like, well, you don't get credit for all your year. I mean,
Yeah.
It just would not happen.
Actually, mine is that way. You start out as a rookie if you transfer.
To another.
Transfer between states, transfer between
Anywhere.
houses.
Anywhere. Not houses. If you're on one department and you move to another department, you start out at the very bottom. Doesn't matter what you were before, you are the bottom.
We did a one-time buyback similar to this, but that was an off thing for us.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's just great. Like, they would never fly on our campus.
I remember not knowing until I was further in my education career that could be the situation. Because my family moved. It wasn't a military connection, but we moved. And I thought, are you kidding me? I paid back a $40,000 penalty when I moved from Michigan to Illinois to teach. I had to become an administrator before I could even start paying it back. So I didn't cash in any of my money. I rolled it all over and still had to pay that much. So it's crazy.
My only reservation with this is, and I don't feel like we have any examples right now, but we've had people that have left us and for one reason or another and gone to another school district, and we're not allowed to say why they had to leave or anything else. They would then carry their years over to that school district. We could be receiving the same kind of employee without any kind of idea on how they're going to perform that. Because you could ask their principal and their superintendent all the questions that you like, but they are still bound not to say certain things, right?
Right, but if they're doing this heavy evaluation, if they come in, they might be getting paid a lot that first year, but that first year's going to be telling, like,
I understand. I'm just,
I mean,
that's my reservation. I feel like we're throwing all of their experience in not knowing what we're getting at that point in time. That's why I liked an idea of phasing that in, but I also don't have a plan for that either, so. And then it gets us into the 6% issue.
I think if we walk forward with this and I bring back to the board next month that we want to do this for the people who are internal right now, then that causes us to then have to look back at the language. And we're getting ready to hire people right now for next year, so we would want to bring them in where they belong. So that would either be asking individual situations, will the board give me permission? You know, I don't know, one of Brian's candidates might have several years. I don't remember. If it was more than 7, then we would have to have that conversation. Yes, it would be right for me to bring him in. Could I ask you for permission and you could do it now with the language the way it is? Yes. Or we could decide that we want to rewrite the language now. I mean, like next month or soon after. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're set up a little bit differently, but we do have that option after year 1. You know, with tenure getting shortened, it's pretty much, you got a year and we got to make a good decision for you. Yeah.
And I missed it before, there's no issues with the union side of this?
I've worked with Angela hand in hand through the whole process, so yeah. Okay, so I will go back and continue and bring it back to you in March.
This is February. Okay, up next we have the approval of the MOU retiree health insurance benefit language.
Okay, so if you recall, it's probably been a couple months ago now where we had a question about an employee who had rescinded their resignation date, wanted to retire a year early, which would be June of 24 or May of 24, and that started to go through the grievance process. The union came and spoke to us. You gave me permission to offer to that employee that we would give the retiree health insurance benefit for years 2 through 5. In other words, a total of 4 years instead of 5 years, because that aligns with the district budget having the chance to make note of that. So then the other charge that you gave me was, why don't we clean up that language so we don't have yet another situation with that. So what I did in your packet was I gave you quite a bit of old language, because there were some things that just, as you go through and try to make it better, sometimes you realize some of these things are out of order. It would be better if we rearranged it this way and then tried to clarify the language. So you can see all the highlights and the strike-throughs and the rearrangements there. And then the proposed language is been approved by the union's executive board. So we have their signatures already, and it's waiting for you to see if you agree with how it's been written. Jeff Funk does agree with how it's been written.
Are there any questions or comments about the language?
Yep, and they approve.
Mm-hmm. Was it like, I mean, was there conversation had of like, if there's confusion, like, we're not going to do this? Like,
It was very, very clear.
come on.
And the two of us, you know, union president and I, who are most intimately involved with the language, we made sure that it was taken to somebody who wasn't as intimately involved, so we could see if it was very clear to them as well. And like I said, the board attorney has said, yes, you have reached what you were looking for, so.
Okay. If there's no other questions or comments, I need a motion and a second to approve the MOU regarding retirement incentive language found in Article 7F 1 through 3 for Blue Ridge CUSD number 18 as presented. So moved. Oh, Jonathan and Jason. Yes. Up next, we have the approval of the library policy.
So again, the library committee has been in existence for a couple of years now, I believe, and we had this draft ready to come when legislation went out saying that they were going to change what was allowed in the school districts across the state. So we held for quite a few months, and the library committee met recently. We had a couple revisions that were suggested to the policy that we have. This would actually be the first time that we've brought to you policy that's not part of press. So that's kind of a woohoo, we're finally doing something on our own. It would be numbered differently in the policy manual. It would not end in a 5 or a 0, it would end in a 2, and it would sit next to the current library policy that we do have, which is very vague. So we do feel like as a committee that we've done very good work looking around us and trying to bring together what other districts have. Some are now asking for our copy of our policy because everybody needs something. And Anita Beeman has done a bang-up job with coordinating us, leading us through our meetings, and so on. So I feel very confident that if we had a challenge, we would know how to bring a team together. We've exercised that a few times. And what we could do is potentially move a book from one grade level or one building level to another if we felt like the content was not appropriate for that set of grade levels. And I just feel like we're on the right path with this. So very excited about to hear about your thoughts on that.
Any questions or comments? Very quiet tonight.
I was wondering about, public libraries. When I was a kid, kids could have their own library card that allowed them to check out certain books, and their parents, that gave the parents some a little bit of leverage on, okay, here's what I'm comfortable with reading, these types of materials, and they would sign off, which were okay. But obviously, schools don't have that mechanism exactly.
The only thing that we have close to that, I believe, is in intermediate junior high school. There are some books that are for the junior high side only, not for the intermediate side, because they're kind of two buildings in one. So. For us, we talked quite a bit about, would there be a different section for some books? And we felt very strongly that that's not the intent behind this. But we feel like with all media, as well as the library with print resources and other resources, it's really, it's on the parents' shoulders to be communicating with their child about what they're consuming with all media. So we've had many of those discussions and felt that, our job here is to make sure that what we bring into our collection meets what our needs are in this community. There will be some books in here that some families would prefer that their child doesn't read, but that's part of the responsibility of being a parent, knowing what your child is consuming, and making sure that you have that relationship to, be aware of what is happening and what you want to do about that. Can't control it all. We all learn that at some point, but we want to make sure that the students have the privilege of reading as they see fit.
So if a parent did express concerns about certain categories of books, the school would do nothing to prevent the child from reading them, right?
If they wanted to have us reconsider the title, we form a committee and we all read the book and we go back to this policy, and we determine whether that's appropriate for that grade level. And then at that point, we communicate with them. They can then come to the board, and then you can make a decision beyond that. But like at the elementary grades, it's really important that the parents, if they want to know exactly what is going home, that they ask the child, bring home your library book and let's see what you're reading.
Gotcha, but they couldn't communicate with the school. They would have to, if, say the kid's checking out something that the parent's not approving of, there's no recourse for the parent until they find out. I'm just kind of getting to Derek's point, you know, if the parent's concerned about what they're getting here and there, they want it to be on like some do not read list for certain titles, whatever they are, I don't know. Maybe mom and dad have a real beef with monster trucks, and they're like, we don't want our kids looking at any of those silly monster truck books. Can you prevent them? Like, they bring it up to check it out. They're like, no, sorry, your parents requested that you not get to take home the monster truck
Yeah.
books.
Do you guys remember what we decided on the committee? I know that we talked about that quite a bit. But we can give the information to the kid and tell the parent, we gave this to your child, and they can ask them. Yeah.
I guess my question was like, okay, let's say I'm a very conservative parent, and I say, hey, can you put my child on a, restricted reading, this subject matter. If he wants to read a book in this subject matter, I would like to consent to it first. Something like that.
Then somebody has to make a decision what kind of books are on that list and what are not. That's where we got hung up. We can't, there's no way to correctly make that distinguishing line between this one's okay and that one's not okay. This should be in that dangerous shelf and this one should not be in that dangerous shelf. So it's a job that would never end. We couldn't make that decision.
There wouldn't be like a rating system. Folks don't have like a NC-17 rating on
There are some pieces when you're selecting books that will give you some information about the content. I feel like we have a librarian who understands that we need to not have be totally slanted in one direction in terms of what's provided in the collection. I often use a continuum when we have this conversation where our library may have been on the very conservative side. We're not aiming to be down here. We're aiming to be somewhere in the middle. We want to know where we live, what our communities are about. We have to have some choice and some voice and selection in what we have available here. And if you consider that, what can a student have access to outside of the print resources? They have a computer at their hands that, this is much more dangerous than what's sitting in here. But yes, I think we got to the place where that's going to have to be a communication between you and child, where you just say, you know what, bring your library books home, let's take a look at them together, which should be what you do with every TV show and every game that they play too. Yeah. Yep.
They'll show you how to fix those, though.
Yeah. Bert?
Just give them a little time.
There were some books that were out in the kind of the national news. I did have a few citizens call me up about what was in our library, and just so you guys know that we have our entire library online accessible through our website too. Title scans. So if people want to look up the title and see if one of our libraries had it, it is separated by the three different campuses.
Something else that came up that's not exactly on topic, but library policy, well, I guess it is on topic. So why wouldn't you communicate the title of the book back to the parents when the student is past due if it's
It's a freedom of reading. That's part of the American Library Association values that they have. So our thought for that is if you're telling somebody that they have an overdue book and the parent calls in, I don't know what book I'm looking for in Johnny's book bag or whatever, we can say, we'll send that list home with you.
Gotcha.
And then you have to communicate with your child. So it's our workaround for answering the question.
Is that age related? So is that like you can't do it for certain, like 14 and
I think
up,
it's
or-
everyone.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know that we've ever had a situation where there was a question about what my child is reading other than they got an overdue notice and I don't know what I'm looking for. Help me. So.
Are there any more comments or questions? not, I need a motion and a second to approve the Blue Ridge CUSD number 18 library policy as presented. So moved. Sid, Derek?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Next up is the approval of crossing guard payment.
If you recall, the city came to us and asked for, actually Sue did, not the city, and asked for some help with the payment for the crossing guard. The board felt unanimously that it was very important to have the crossing guard at Snyder, both for safety of kids, after school. It's a really busy time there. So we decided as a board that we would give a 30% of the salary reimbursement during this 23-24 school year. While our EAV is going up in McLean County and Piatt County, it's not touching DeWitt County. So the tax base is going to remain, just the regular amount of growth, not the extraordinary amount of growth that our other two counties are seeing. And so Sue gave us some information about how they would be in the red going forward, and they didn't know how they were going to address that. I will say that when we came back with the 30% offer for this current school year, they were hoping for a little bit more from us. I told her that we would revisit this next school year, and that's what we're doing right now. So by looking at some of the numbers, knowing that they're going to get 30% from us for this year, which we've not given yet, but we will when they invoice us, then I wanted to look at least the next 2 years. I thought that was fair. And with an estimate, about 55% would keep them from going into the red, and would be a reasonable amount for us to pay, and would keep that crossing guard in that position for the safety of our kids. And then we could reconsider again in 2 years to see where we are and what we wanted to do at that time. So that's my proposal. Sue was going to be here tonight. She got called to something else. I forget what it was, but told her if we had any questions, we'd let her know. And if you said yes to this, then she'll write up the agreement and we'll go forward. But if you have any other questions, she's happy to come back. We do have some more time if we need to.
Any comments or questions?
I'm okay with this, but at the end of next year, is it possible to also look at traffic patterns so that we could actually eliminate a crossing guard?
We have looked at traffic patterns quite a few times. I feel like we're in the best traffic pattern that we have been. When Susan was superintendent, there were quite a few calls about parents, especially living right here on this street, that were upset about things. I think between Chief Guest and Jacob King, they've done a really nice job with training parents what to do in the afternoon. I don't know, Ryan, how you feel about the traffic this year compared to other years? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you have parents that are walking kids back and forth with the crossing guard because they're parked over on the other side. You have parents that are coming in the circle drive. You have buses that are trying to move. I don't see it realistically being done with a crossing guard. There's just too much going on. I think it's a good flow right now, but it's just too busy. One misstep and that would be a huge liability on us. I think it's well worth the cost.
Do we think there's any sort of city signage that would improve the traffic flow that maybe we can put the city on the hook for?
They do the barricades. We do have the signage there saying what hours of the day it's one way.
Next street over and like telling people where to turn to get around and go down the street. I lived in the city for 13 years and I forget which road to turn down.
I'll
Yeah.
tell you from personal experience too, most drivers, a sign is a sign and they never look at it. And I can be standing there with a bright yellow vest waving my arms telling people to stop and not go this way, and they will continue to drive that way and say, but I live just right there, even though the road is closed. So And short of closing off at least one more lane, I don't know how we could ever eliminate the need for a crossing guard. I don't know how the pattern could work that well.
Yeah, I just didn't know if we shut down the intersection of Richardson and John so that you couldn't actually, yeah, you could walk through, but it's barricaded. Bus traffic could still use the Circle Drive and head east on Richardson, and then no one would be allowed, other than you can barricade off on the south side of the other circle. It'd be taking out like a 50-foot section of street, but it'd be consistently happening is the only way I could see. You'd have to put up barricades all the time. So somebody'd still have to do stuff. But I just didn't know if
People would
that's
still park like that block down, and they would just walk over to get their kids instead of waiting in the line. That'd be because we definitely are, I know there's some districts, Mahomet comes to mind, some of their schools. It is definitely, and my niece's school is that way. No one gets out of the car. Like, you're not to get out of the car, you're to pull up, no one parks, and then they see your car, and then they send the kid out. If you get out, it's like everyone yells at you. So, but here, it's just not that. There's a lot of parents that get out and go stand up and wait, and then walk their kids back to the car. Like, it would have to change, I think, a lot of habits. Because, I mean, I'm even guilty. When I pick my grandson up, I park, I get out, it's just not, it definitely is a different setup of how it's done. Because that's, my fear would be, even if we barricaded, people would just park down that block, and then they're still going to be crossing in front of that bus.
They'll be crossing somewhere, but the traffic would be on the sidewalk side of the bus as opposed to the street side of the bus. And this is no offense to anybody wanting to drop their kid off. Whether it's a person or a barricade, that's not going to stop somebody from doing the wrong thing. It's trying to guide them into doing the right thing. So if we're stopping traffic from going through there, period, I think that it's a better solution even than a crossing guard. But like I said, I wouldn't have anything ready for a while. So I'm looking at it from a year from now, seeing if there's another solution.
Yeah.
I just want to say I'm having a hard time envisioning so if you could draw it out.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be helpful for
I
me
had to look
anyway.
at a map anyways to even try and think of
Yeah,
the street names.
I would definitely need to see something. A map would be helpful. I think that the speed, what is this down here? The speed,
Yeah,
whatever it's called, I don't know. But I think that's really helpful to alert people. I know I'm always very conscious of that when I'm headed this direction to pick up my daughter, and then I go this way, and I will just say that intersection is extremely, there's cars that are lined up, parked on the roads, you can't drive through, and it makes me nervous every time. I'm just super anxious and making sure there's no children, and I really rely on that crossing guard to keep things safe and, help me as a driver be aware of what's happening.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Your suggestion is to blockade Richardson, right? And then send everybody down John Street, and then there'd be
John would be stopped. Richardson the buses could come out and go down Richardson, but you would stop a certain portion of John Street so that traffic would not be allowed through.
So in front of Schneider?
It'll look a little bit better if I can put it down in a plan, which
Yeah.
won't be right now.
So I'm like this, so the new Circle Drive?
there be any, would there still be accessibility for people who have accessibility needs to be met as well?
They'd still be able to, well, this Circle Drive is only for buses, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So whether it's at the other, I don't know if that's really a Circle Drive, the other drive, but like a U drive or something. But
Snyder's U.
Crescent Drive, yeah. That would still be the one that I would assume, but.
And I think, Ryan, you send out at the beginning of the year, you send out a directional map. Mm-hmm. Mary wants that done right now because she's getting packets ready.
It's more than a year, more than a year.
Cars came in from the north, even from this road here. It's not Richardson, so you talk about
Yeah.
Okay. So for now, what's on the table is the amount that we would contribute to the city for the cost of the crossing guard. If you want to modify that motion at all, if you want to talk about 1 year, if you want to table this and have Sue come in and answer some questions, your call. My recommendation would still be 2 years of 55% and then to reevaluate.
Any thoughts?
2 years and reevaluating gives us plenty of time to work on if we can develop traffic patterns, agree on shutting down certain roads and how that gets accomplished. So that gives us plenty of time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if there are no other thoughts, then I need a motion and second to approve entering into an agreement with the City of Farmer City to fund 55% of the cost of the crossing guard in the 2024-25 and 2025-26 school years as presented.
So move.
Kenna? Jonathan?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Now, new business. Up first is the approval of after-school tutoring positions.
So part of our ESSER 3 grant, that Paige is the queen of for multiple years, part of that needs to be spent very specifically. And so Paige and Bert and Shauna worked together to develop the idea of an after-school tutoring program, which would meet the needs of the ESSER qualifications, ESSER restrictions. And so we are proposing, actually, it's kind of one position, but two people would share it. So you're kind of approving two positions, I guess, for this after-school tutoring that would serve 7th and 8th grade students from now until the end of the school year. So no district funds for this. It would all be grant funding. So right now, you're just asked to approve the positions, and then in closed session, if we say yes to it now, then we'll bring names to you for hiring.
Any questions? Okay. If not, I need a motion and a second to approve 2 teacher positions for a junior high after-school tutoring program in spring 2024 to be funded by ESSER 3 funds as presented. Derek? Second. Sid?
Yes.
Yes. Up next is consideration for letting of bids for HLS work, Farmer City Campus roofing, and Blue Ridge High School secure entry.
Okay, both of these are part of the health, life, safety set-aside money and also approved through IWAS as well. So Scott Wachter, the new district architect from IGW, has drawings for you to see for the secure entry project. That would actually, for those in the audience, that would actually be coming through the outside door directly into the unit office. So that would be where guests would enter, and then the unit office would have a new wall and glass and door inside of it. So Christy would be protected, my office door would be protected, so people would come into an enclosed area basically. And then if they passed the scan with their driver's license or the visual conversation with Christy, then they would be buzzed to go into the hallway for the high school. And we're looking at the system that would have they would be stickered so people would know that they belong in the building. At the same time, we're hoping to make where the stained glass is in the portico, which should be the main entrance for the high school, we'd like to be able to do the same situation there, which would be nice. It's going to be a retraining, but right now the corner entrance is the main entrance. It's tucked away. It doesn't make any sense. If we could retrain and get people to come into the portico, and we had the technology, which Dave Kramer is already working on this project. But again, they would come into the first door, they would be buzzed in there, they would be held there until they did the scanner, they did a quick background check, and then they get the sticker, and that unlocks, then they could press the door to get into the high school. And again, they'd be stickered already. So all of those plans are out there for you. That work would probably take about a month and would be done probably in the month of July, maybe end of June, July. And it would just inconvenience Christy and myself. Everybody else would continue as is. And then the other project, of course, is the roofing project we've talked about a long time. It's time to go out for bids for that. And Scott's company has already come and dug cores, and they know what they're looking for. They're going to be able to use some of the insulation that has not been negatively impacted, and they're going to increase the amount of insulation up there underneath the roof. So it's time to move forward with both of those, if you say so.
How, can I ask a question?
Mhm.
How does the change in this entry impact the flow up the staircase?
It won't, because they'll come into a door that doesn't exist right now. So they'll come direct where the bus map is in the unit office.
Okay.
They'll break through that map. So they'll come into what will now be an enclosed area. So Christy will be behind plexiglass. There will be a door to the right of where Christy sits, so you could go back and get to the rest of us. But they're going to either come in through that visitor door and ask Christy a question and leave, or they're going to have permission to exit the unit office door into the hallway and go where they need to in the high school.
So students internally would still be freely
Yep.
able to go up and
Yep.
down either staircase?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I see.
No egress issues created by this at all.
And we're doing it that way instead of out here?
We're doing both. So we're going to have a secure entry down there because we're really a separate place inside the same building. And that way, high school traffic could still come in to the high school. And we're never going to, well, the way we are right now, we're never going to get the high school secretaries to be close to a door. But instead of having every single entry into the high school all day long come in through that door, we're going to have ability to do both. And it'll be secure there because they'll be kind of locked in that glass entryway until they pass their background.
And it's just
their check.
recently that people are coming in the door right here. I don't even know when that, I mean, it's very recent that that changed because.
This corner door?
Yes.
Yeah, because we weren't
Yeah.
ADA accessible over there. This is
Yeah.
the ADA accessible functioning door. So that's why I got moved here in the corner, but it doesn't make sense to have your main entrance tucked in the corner.
No.
It's not labeled, and it just doesn't make any sense, so.
I agree. It feels weird even when you come to a sporting event, I think.
Yeah.
Like, why are we coming over here?
Yeah.
'Cause
And
we
we can
always came in the other doors.
Yeah.
I'm like, but I just followed the traffic, so I don't know what to do.
We can now, like Dave was telling Brian, we can time out those locks. So in the morning, when we have somebody out there, the doors can be programmed to unlock according to the school calendar at the right time, only for those minutes where somebody is out there monitoring the flow of traffic coming in. We can do the same thing on the back door. So technology is our friend right now with some of these things that we're going to be able to do.
Question about the roof bid for Schneider and the foam. So they're going to be removing any of the damaged foam and then putting new down, or are they going to be, doing that and then laying an entire new layer over everything? I might have misunderstood when I was reading it.
I believe that they're taking out what's damaged, they're going to add to it. I'm not sure if they're going to add to it and then go over all of it, but I know that they are talking about making it thicker. He and Rusty are having that conversation about exactly how thick we want to go.
That's kind of what I was wondering. I was wondering how many layers of roofing are on there and underneath there that have been, I'm just kind of curious what
Yeah.
we're covering up.
And the recommended or the required, not sure which one it is, amount of insulation was way different 20 years ago than it is now.
Oh, yeah.
But they want to pay attention to the, I guess the curb, that would need to be changed if the insulation is a lot thicker. So I know they've had that conversation. Rusty's a lot more experienced with being able to answer those questions than I.
All right.
Okay. If there are no further comments, I need a motion and a second to approve letting bids for the Health Life Safety Roof Replacement Project at Blue Ridge High School and Schneider Elementary, as well as the Health Life Safety Secure Entry Project at BRHS as presented.
Moved.
Jason and Jonathan.
Yes.
Yes. Up next is the approval of revision to policy 7270 to add undesignated albuterol.
So currently we have undesignated EpiPens, undesignated what else? Narcan we have available, and now Michelle Case, our nurse for the Farmer City campus, has received permissions, guidance, and also a quantity. Thank you. We also want to move forward with undesignated albuterol. So we already have some of this available, and this language was available previously. We didn't include it in our policy because when the policy was revised a couple years ago, this was not something that we had access to yet. But Michelle has been very proactive with having communication with other district nurses, and she has brought this to us, and I would like your consideration to add the asthma medication to the list of undesignated things, and then it's our charge at the beginning of the year to make sure that we inform parents that we have it. They're not to count on that being their child's prescription, but it's available for them if somebody should be in need while they're at school.
Is this through an inhaler?
Yes.
And who would be the other qualified people to deliver it other than the nursing staff?
Anybody who would be trained.
That the nurse trains?
If the nurse is a trainer, or we would have to bring in a trainer.
And they would be operating underneath the nurse's license at that point. I'm just curious as to who would be allowed to administer that and how that, you guys probably have that sorted out. I just would like to know what some of the hoops are after that.
Yeah.
Is it not similar to Narcan? Because
It is not similar to Narcan.
Okay, because you do not have to be, as long as you have training, you can administer Narcan. So I'm not familiar as much with the albuterol.
Yeah, so this one's working again, thank you. Michelle's going to work through the training. We have the medicine here, but we're not doing anything with this school year. This would be something that we do next school year. So she's looking into the training portion, but we've just received the paperwork from IDPH giving us, we have the permission to be doing this from IDPH.
Thanks.
Alrighty, I need a motion and a second to approve adding the undesignated asthma medication language to existing policy 7270, administering medicines to students for Blue Ridge CUSD number 18 as presented. Jonathan? Derek?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, and now we're ready to go into closed session at 8:27. I need a motion and a second to move from open session to closed session for appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, dismissal, specific employees of the district at 8:27.
So move.
Kenna and Sig.
Yes.